Sarah Chen stood at her kitchen window, watching the silver spires of New Shanghai's skyline catch the morning light. 20 years of military service had trained her to notice details others might miss, and something felt off about the silence in her apartment. Her daughter Maya's usual morning routine of clattering dishes and loud music was conspicuously absent. "Maya," she called out, already knowing she wouldn't get an answer. The quiet felt wrong, like the stillness before a plasma storm. The message waiting on her comm unit only confirmed her instincts. "Congratulations, your offspring has been selected for the Galactic Cultural Enhancement Program. Maya Chen demonstrated exceptional aptitude in quantum mechanics and meets all criteria for advanced placement." Sarah's coffee mug cracked in her grip. The letterhead belonged to the Ascendant Collective, a species so ancient they made humanity look like newborns. They were also, conveniently, exempt from standard diplomatic protocols due to their elder race status. "Computer, locate Maya Chen." Unable to comply. "Target biosignature not found within scanning range." Sarah closed her eyes, counting to 10 in Mandarin like her mother had taught her. It didn't help. Opening her secure drawer, she pulled out her old military command tablet. It powered on with a familiar hum, recognizing her biometrics. "Welcome back, Commander Chen," the tablet chirped. "You have 2,947 unread messages. New message to Admiral Zhang." Sarah dictated. "Sir, remember when you said you owed me for that incident with the Proximan ambassador and the quantum wine? Time to pay up. My daughter's been selected by the Ascendants." "Yes, those Ascendants." "No, I didn't authorize it." "Yes, I'm going to get her back." "No, I won't start an interstellar incident." She paused. "Probably." While waiting for the Admiral's response, Sarah pulled up Maya's school records. Her daughter's quantum mechanics scores were impressive, but not extraordinary enough to warrant special attention from one of the oldest civilizations in known space. Digging deeper, she found similar selections had occurred at other schools across Earth's colonies. All gifted students, all taken without parental consent. The Admiral's response was immediate. "Private channel." Now, John's hologram appeared in her living room, his usually immaculate uniform wrinkled. "Chen, tell me you're not planning what I think you're planning." "Sir, they took my daughter. The Ascendants are not some pirates you can intimidate or outsmart. They were exploring the galaxy when our ancestors were still figuring out fire." Sarah's smile was sharp enough to cut diamonds. "Then they should have learned better manners by now. This isn't like the old days. You can't just what? Track down my daughter. Demand answers. They're not gods, Admiral. They're just very old, very powerful, and apparently very bad at paperwork." Notice how they sent a congratulatory message instead of a permission form. Zhang's hologram pinched its nose. "You're going to do this regardless of what I say, aren't you?" "You know me too well, sir. The Defense Force can't officially help you. The diplomatic implications." "I understand, sir. Unofficially, though." Zhang sighed. "Your old command codes might still work on the EDF Tigris. She's scheduled for decommissioning next week. Terrible shame if someone were to borrow her before then." Sarah was already moving, muscle memory taking over as she donned her old combat suit. "Thank you, sir." "Chen," Zhang's voice stopped her. "Bring her home. And try not to start a war." "No promises on the second part, sir." As Sarah prepared to leave, she spotted Maya's quantum mechanics homework still on the kitchen table, covered in her daughter's neat handwriting. Picking it up, she noticed something odd. Maya had solved the problems using techniques that weren't taught in standard curricula. "Computer, analyze these equations. Compare to known quantum mechanical models." Analysis complete. Equations show novel approach to quantum entanglement. Theoretical applications include faster-than-light communication. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Ascendants weren't running a cultural exchange program. They were containing threats to their technological supremacy, and they had just made the mistake of threatening the wrong mother's child. "Computer, plot course to the EDF Tigris. and download everything we have on Ascendant technology. If they want to play teacher, it's time they met an angry parent. The EDF Tigress sliced through hyperspace like a shark through dark water. Sarah sat in the familiar command chair, surrounded by holographic displays showing everything from engine diagnostics to Ascendant cultural archives. The ship's AI had been surprisingly eager to help, probably out of boredom from sitting in space dock. Analysis complete, the AI announced. I found 17 similar selections across human space in the past month, all students showing unprecedented advances in various fields. Sarah leaned forward, studying the data. Pattern. Each breakthrough could potentially destabilize Ascendant technological dominance. Quantum communications, gravity manipulation, psychic resonance. They're culling the competition, Sarah muttered. Show me the first contact point. A hologram materialized. A massive structure floating in neutral space, shaped like an impossible geometric figure. The Ascendant Embassy to Emerging Species, officially. The Ivory Tower, unofficially. Approaching Ascendant space, the AI warned. Their automated defense systems are interesting. Interesting how? They appear to be powered by technologies that violate several laws of physics. Sarah smiled grimly. Good thing we're not playing by their rules. Execute protocol. Parent-teacher conference. The Tigress's systems reconfigured themselves, broadcasting identification codes that marked it as a diplomatic vessel. Codes that Admiral Zhang definitely hadn't slipped into her database. Unidentified vessel. A voice like crystalline wind chimes echoed through the bridge. This space is restricted to scheduled diplomatic. This is Commander Sarah Chen, she interrupted. Mother of Maya Chen, I believe you have my daughter. Silence. Then, your offspring has been selected for an elite educational opportunity. This is a great honor. Let me stop you right there. Sarah's fingers danced across her console, bringing up the files she'd prepared. Article 7 of the Galactic Sentient Rights Charter. Subsection C. No minor may be removed from their guardian's care without explicit consent. Article 12. Educational programs must provide full curriculum disclosure. Article 23. Species technological development shall not be artificially restricted. The Ascendant Collective is exempt from basic courtesy, from parental rights, or just from consequences in general. Another voice cut in, deeper, like the space between stars. Commander Chen, this is First Teacher Xalax. Your passion is noted, but unnecessary. Your daughter is receiving the finest education in the galaxy. Funny thing about education, Sarah replied, activating a subroutine she'd prepared. Across the Ascendant Embassy, every screen began displaying the same message. A compilation of testimonies from parents across a dozen species, all describing similar selections. I've been doing my homework, First Teacher. You're not educating these children. You're containing them, preventing them from developing technologies that might challenge your dominance. You cannot possibly understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. You're afraid. Afraid of change. Afraid of progress. Afraid of younger species surpassing you. So you steal our children under the guise of education, keeping the brightest minds locked away in your ivory tower. Commander. Xalax's voice held a warning. This conversation is over. No, Sarah replied, activating the Tigress's weapon systems. It's just beginning. You have 1 hour to return all selected students to their families. After that, I start broadcasting everything I've found to every species in the galaxy. Let's see how they react to learning their children are being harvested. You would risk galactic stability for one child. Sarah's laugh was cold. First Teacher, I'm a mother looking for her daughter. Galactic stability isn't even in my top 10 concerns right now. Your ship's weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Maybe not. But I bet the quantum communication algorithm my daughter was developing could. The one that scared you enough to take her. Silence again, longer this time. Sarah could almost hear the ancient minds processing this new variable. A parent who wasn't just angry, but prepared. Perhaps, Zelax finally said, we should discuss this further. Wonderful. Sarah settled deeper into her command chair. Let's start with your attendance policy. As negotiations began, Sarah kept one eye on her tactical display. The Ascendants had positioned ships around the Tigris, probably thinking they were being subtle. They still hadn't realized her true plan was already in motion, because while she kept their attention, other parents she contacted were approaching from different vectors, each carrying similar evidence, similar demands. The Ascendants had forgotten something fundamental about younger species. Nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous than a parent protecting their child. And Sarah had just organized the universe's first intergalactic PTA meeting. Now, she said, pulling up Maya's quantum equations about your advanced placement program. First teacher Xalax's hologram materialized in the Tigris's conference room, a shifting form of light and geometry that hurt Sarah's eyes to look at directly. Behind her, the tactical display showed dozens of parent vessels now in position around the Ascendant Embassy, an impromptu fleet united by shared anger. You cannot comprehend the complexities at play, Commander Chen. Xalax began, their form rippling with what might have been frustration. The galaxy's development must be guided, controlled. Funny, Sarah replied, spreading holographic files across the conference table. Because what I'm seeing looks less like guidance and more like suppression. Tell me about the Regelian student who discovered a new form of energy manipulation, or the Proximan twins who theorized conscious AI integration. All selected for your program, all gone silent. They are safe, learning. Learning what? How to think smaller, how to contain their potential so it doesn't frighten you. Sarah pulled up Maya's equations. My daughter wasn't just theorizing quantum communication. She was about to prove it was possible. That's what scared you, isn't it? The hologram shifted, colors dancing through impossible spectrums. Your species is young, aggressive, unpredictable. The power to instantly communicate across any distance. The chaos it would cause. You mean the power it would take from you. Sarah's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Because instant communication would change everything. Trade routes, information control, the very structure of galactic society. Your society. We have guided the galaxy for millions of years. And that's the problem, isn't it? You've been in charge so long you've forgotten how to adapt. So instead of evolving, you steal the children who might force you to change. A new alert flashed on Sarah's display. The other parent ships were broadcasting their own evidence now, creating a network of shared information that was rapidly spreading across galactic channels. The Ascendant's careful narrative was unraveling in real time. What you're doing. Xalax's form solidified, showing genuine alarm. It will destabilize everything. No, Sarah corrected. It will force evolution. Something you've been preventing for far too long. She stood, facing the hologram directly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return all the students, not just to humans, but to every species you've stolen from. Then you're going to transform this selection program into something legitimate. Real education, real collaboration, with full parental involvement and oversight. Or, Xalax's tone suggested they already knew. Or we broadcast everything. Every stolen child, every suppressed discovery, every manipulation. Let's see how the galaxy reacts to learning their precious mentors are actually their jailers. You would risk cosmic chaos for this. Sarah smiled, the same smile she'd worn when Maya had taken her first steps, when she'd solved her first equation, when she'd looked up at the stars with wonder instead of fear. First teacher, let me teach you something about parents. We don't just protect our children from the future. We protect the future for our children. The tactical display flashed again. More ships arriving, not just parents now, but representatives from dozens of species, all demanding answers. The story was spreading faster than the Ascendants could contain it. Your time as unquestioned teachers is over, Sarah continued. But that doesn't mean you can't still contribute. Help us grow, truly grow, instead of keeping us small. Be actual mentors instead of frightened guardians. Thalex's form rippled one final time before stabilizing into something almost human. And if we refuse, then you'll learn another lesson about parents. Sarah's hand hovered over her command console. We're really good at organizing against unfair systems. Right now, you're facing the biggest parent-teacher conference in galactic history. Your choice how it ends. The silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of millions of years of history balanced against the raw force of parental determination. In the end, it wasn't even close. Perhaps, Selex conceded, their form shifting to something more approachable. It is time for the teachers to learn from their students. Sarah's smile softened slightly. Good choice. Now about my daughter's quantum communications project. The Ascendant Embassy's main hall was a cathedral of impossible architecture, where gravity seemed more like a suggestion than a law. Sarah walked beside first teacher Xalax, watching as reunions unfolded around them. Parents and children from a dozen species embracing, their joy transcending biological differences. Maya stood at the center of a group of students, her hands moving animatedly as she explained something to a floating crystalline being and what appeared to be a sentient cloud of plasma. Her quantum communication equations hung in the air between them, expanded and annotated with modifications from multiple species. They've been collaborating, Selax observed, their form shifting to express what might have been wonder. Despite our restrictions. Of course they have. Sarah watched her daughter's eyes light up as the plasma being contributed something to the equation. That's what young minds do. They find ways to grow, to connect, to build on each other's ideas. We thought we were protecting the galaxy's stability by stifling its future. Sarah turned to face the ancient being. Look at them. Really look. They're not just sharing ideas. They're creating new ones. Things you never imagined because you stopped imagining millions of years ago. Around them, the evidence was undeniable. A young Regellian's energy manipulation theory was being refined by a Proximan's understanding of consciousness. A Centaurian's work on biological computing merged seamlessly with an Arcturian's quantum entanglement research. The students hadn't seen barriers between disciplines or species. They'd seen possibilities. Mom, Maya called out, waving Sarah over. You have to see this. Xerix here. She gestured to the plasma being. Figured out how to stabilize the quantum field using biological processors, and Hilera's crystal matrix can amplify the signal across dimensional barriers. Sarah approached the floating equations, noting how each student's contribution was marked in their native mathematical notation. It was beautiful, like a symphony written in numbers and theory. The equations are elegant, Selax admitted, studying the collaborative work. More elegant than our own solutions from eons ago. That's because they're not afraid to be wrong, Sarah explained. They're not trapped by millions of years of this is how it's done. They see the universe with fresh eyes. A commotion at the far end of the hall drew their attention. One of the Proximan twins had apparently discovered how to make the embassy's gravity fields dance. Students were floating in complex patterns, laughing as they adapted to constantly shifting gravitational orientations. Xalax's form flickered with uncertainty. This is not how we have taught for millions of years. Maybe that's the problem. Sarah watched as Maya joined the floating dance, her quantum equations trailing behind her like a mathematical comet tail. You've been teaching. Maybe it's time to start learning. You suggest we, the eldest race in known space, should learn from children. I suggest you remember what it was like to be young, to see possibilities instead of problems, to embrace change instead of fearing it. Sarah gestured at the joyful chaos around them. Look what they've accomplished in just the few hours since you stopped suppressing them. The hall had transformed into something between a scientific conference and a celebration. Ideas and theories bounced between species like light between mirrors, each reflection adding new depth, new understanding. The students had organized themselves into informal groups based not on species or discipline, but on how their various projects could complement each other. We would need guidelines, Selax said slowly, structure, oversight. Agreed. Sarah smiled. That's where we parents come in. We can help build something new. A real exchange program. One that nurtures potential instead of containing it. The galaxy would change. The galaxy is always changing. The question is whether we help guide that change or try to prevent it. Sarah watched as Maya's group successfully transmitted a quantum message across the hall, their combined theories working in harmony. They're going to build the future whether we help or not. I'd rather be part of it than stand in its way. Zelax was quiet for a long moment, their form shifting through colors that had no names in human languages. Finally, they spoke. Perhaps it is time for the Ascendant Collective to ascend in a different way. Not above, but alongside. Now you're learning, Sarah said, as Maya's quantum message sparked a cascade of breakthroughs across the hall. The future was being born around them, bright and unpredictable and beautiful. And this time, everyone would be there to see it grow. 1 year later, the new Galactic Learning Exchange occupied what had once been the Ascendant Embassy, though it was barely recognizable now. The rigid geometric perfection had given way to an organic blend of architectural styles from across the galaxy, each edition representing a new idea, a new possibility, a new future. Sarah stood in the observation dome, watching students of all species move through the halls below. Maya was leading a quantum physics study group, her original communication theory now expanded into something that had revolutionized galactic communication. Beside her, a Regelian student was demonstrating energy manipulation techniques that had already solved power distribution problems on 3 different worlds. The Board of Guardians is ready, Commander Chen. Zelax announced, their form now permanently shifted into something that better reflected their new role, not an untouchable elder, but a guide walking alongside the next generation. Still not used to that title, Sarah replied, turning from the window. Parent-teacher representative would be more accurate. The board chamber had been redesigned like everything else. Instead of the Ascendant's towering thrones, it now featured a circular arrangement of seats, each adapted to different species' needs. Parents, teachers, and student representatives from across the galaxy gathered here regularly to ensure the exchange stayed true to its new mission. Progress report, Sarah asked, taking her seat. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing streams of data from various learning pods. The Proximan Twins AI integration protocols had led to breakthrough in interspecies communication. A Centaurian-human collaboration had developed new medical technologies by combining biological computing with quantum healing. Every week wrought new discoveries, new combinations of ideas that no single species could have developed alone. There have been concerns, one of the elder ascendants admitted, their form flickering with ancient worry. The pace of change is exactly what it should be, Sarah interrupted gently. Look at the safety protocols the students develop themselves. They understand the responsibility that comes with discovery. They're not just learning facts. They're learning wisdom. And the parents? Another board member asked. Sarah smiled, remembering the impromptu fleet that had started all this. The Parent Oversight Committee is working perfectly. Turns out, when you give parents a real voice in their children's education, they become your strongest allies in ensuring it's done right. The display shifted to show the exchange's latest initiative. Outreach programs to species that were just achieving spaceflight. But instead of the Ascendant's old approach of containment and control, these programs offered genuine mentorship, a chance to join the galactic community as equals. Mom, Maya's voice called from the chamber entrance. You need to see this. Sarah excused herself and followed her daughter to one of the research pods. Inside, students from 5 different species were gathered around a holographic model that seemed to bend reality itself. We combined everyone's theories, Maya explained, her eyes shining with excitement. The quantum communication, the energy manipulation, the biological computing, everything. Watch. The model shifted, and suddenly Sarah was looking at something that made her physicist's heart skip a beat. It's that. A stable wormhole generator, Maya confirmed. Well, theoretical right now. But the math works. All our different approaches, working together, it opens up possibilities no one species could have seen alone. Sarah looked around the room, seeing the same expression of wonder on faces both alien and familiar. This was what education should be. Not the careful distribution of approved knowledge, but the joy of discovery, the thrill of pushing boundaries together. First teacher Xalax. She called, knowing they could hear her. I think we need to schedule an emergency board meeting to discuss concerns about this development. Xalax appeared, their form rippling with what Sarah now recognized as excitement rather than worry. No, Sarah smiled, watching the students refine their calculations with the pure joy of discovery, to discuss how we're going to help them make it work. As she headed back to the board chamber, Sarah passed the exchange's new mission statement, written in every known language. The future belongs to those who build it together. The Ascendants had wanted to be teachers to the galaxy. Instead, they had learned the greatest lesson of all, that true wisdom comes not from preserving the past, but from nurturing the future. And sometimes, it takes a parent's love to teach the teachers how to learn again. Maya's quantum message pinged in Sarah's mind as she walked. Love you, Mom. Thanks for fighting for us.